The architect of destruction. An introduction. J. Robert Oppenheimer. His name is forever tied to fire. A fire unlike any seen before. He led a team of brilliant minds. They raced against time. Their goal was to build a weapon of unimaginable power. This weapon was the atomic bomb. It promised an end to a brutal war, but it also unleashed a new kind of terror upon the world, a terror that would haunt its creator. He stood at the crossroads of science and destruction. A complex figure full of contradictions. He was a poet, he was a physicist. He understood the universe's deepest secrets, yet he helped create a tool that could end it all. The bomb was a triumph of human ingenuity. It was also a profound moral failure, some would say. For Oppenheimer, it was both. He saw its necessity, he felt its horror. This duality would tear at his soul. It would define the rest of his life. His story is a stark reminder. Great power brings great responsibility. The world celebrated him as a hero, the father of the atomic bomb. He brought an end to the Second World War, but Oppenheimer saw more than victory. He saw the potential for future annihilation. A prodigy's path. Early brilliance and quantum leaps. Julius Robert Oppenheimer was born into a world of comfort. New York City, 1904. His family was wealthy. They encouraged his sharp mind. From a young age, his intellect shone brightly. He learned languages with ease. He devoured books on science and philosophy. He was a quick study, often outpacing his teachers. His curiosity was boundless. He seemed destined for great things. Few could have imagined the path his brilliance would take, or the shadows it would eventually cast upon his spirit. He journeyed to Europe for his studies, the heart of the physics revolution. He worked with the greatest minds of the era. Max Born, Niels Bohr. These were the giants of quantum mechanics. Oppenheimer quickly made his mark. He published important papers. He delved into the strange world of atoms and particles. He was known for his quick grasp of complex theories. He was also known for his intense, sometimes unsettling personality. He was a man of many layers, a man driven by an inner fire. His academic achievements were but a prelude. The summons, leading the secret city of Los Alamos. War engulfed the globe. A shadow fell across civilization. Nazi Germany was a fearsome enemy. Scientists feared Hitler might build an atomic weapon first. This fear spurred action. The United States decided it must act. It must build its own bomb. This was the birth of the Manhattan Project. A secret mission of incredible scale. A mission of desperate urgency. They needed a leader for the scientific heart of this project. A leader to build the bomb itself. The choice fell upon J. Robert Oppenheimer. It was a surprising choice to some. Oppenheimer was a theorist, not an experimentalist. He had no Nobel Prize. He had limited administrative experience. But General Leslie Groves saw something in him. He saw intellect. He saw ambition. He saw a man who could inspire others. Oppenheimer understood the physics. He understood the stakes. He accepted the monumental task. He would gather the brightest minds. He would lead them into the unknown. The fate of the world seemed to hang in the balance. A remote mesa in New Mexico was chosen. Los Alamos, a secret city built from scratch. Scientists and their families arrived. They lived in Spartan conditions. Trinity, the blinding flash and the birth of fear. Years of relentless work led to this moment. July 16, 1945, the New Mexico desert, Jornada del Muerto, the journey of death. The first atomic device, codenamed Gadget, sat atop a steel tower. Oppenheimer and his team watched from miles away. Tension filled the air. It was thick with anxiety. What if it failed? What if it was too powerful? The world's future hung on this test. Oppenheimer himself was a bundle of nerves. He was gaunt, he was exhausted, he chain-smoked. The countdown began, voices crackled over the radio, then silence. A blinding flash of light, brighter than 1,000 suns. It lit up the mountains. It turned night into day. A wave of heat washed over the observers. Then came the sound, a deafening roar, a shock wave that shook the earth. A mushroom cloud rose into the dawn sky. Awesome, terrible, beautiful. The power of the atom was unleashed. The scientists were stunned. Some cheered, some wept, some stood in silent awe. Oppenheimer watched the spectacle unfold. His face was a mask of conflicting emotions. Section 5 cities turned to dust, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and a creator's torment. The decision was made. President Truman gave the order. The atomic bomb would be used against Japan. On August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay dropped Little Boy on Hiroshima. A city vanished in a flash of light. Tens of thousands died instantly. Many more would perish from radiation sickness. 3 days later, Fat Man devastated Nagasaki. The war was effectively over. Japan surrendered, the world rejoiced. The soldiers could come home, but at what cost? Oppenheimer heard the news of Hiroshima. He was at Los Alamos. There were celebrations. He addressed the cheering crowd. He expressed his regret that the bomb was not ready in time to use against Germany. It was a moment of public triumph, but privately, the weight of the destruction began to settle upon him. The reports from Japan were horrific. The scale of human suffering was immense. He had known the bomb would be powerful, but the reality was still a shock. Section 6. Blood on his hands. The post-war moral reckoning. The war ended. Oppenheimer was a national figure. His face graced the covers of magazines. He was celebrated. He was lauded. But behind the public facade, a storm raged within him. The initial elation of success gave way to a gnawing unease. The images from Hiroshima and Nagasaki were relentless. The sheer scale of the death and destruction weighed heavily on his conscience. He had unleashed a terrible power, a power that could now be used again and again. This thought tormented him. He met with President Truman. He tried to express his deep concerns. He famously told the president, "Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands." Truman was dismissive. He reportedly told his aides he never wanted to see that crybaby scientist again. Truman believed the bomb had saved lives. He saw it as a necessary evil. Oppenheimer saw it as a terrifying precedent. A Pandora's box flung wide open. His words of caution were not always welcomed by those in power. They wanted to celebrate victory, not dwell on its moral complexities. Section 7. A plea for restraint, advocating against the unthinkable. After the war, Oppenheimer used his influence. He became chairman of the General Advisory Committee. This committee advised the new Atomic Energy Commission. He argued passionately for international control of atomic energy. He believed that nuclear weapons were too dangerous to be left in national hands. He envisioned a world where atomic power was shared for peaceful purposes, a world where the threat of nuclear war was diminished. This was his hope. This was his new mission, a mission born from his deep-seated fears. He strongly opposed the development of the hydrogen bomb, the super, as it was called. It promised to be 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. Oppenheimer saw it as a weapon of genocide. He believed its creation would only escalate the arms race. It would make the world an even more dangerous place. He and his committee advised against a crash program to build it. They argued for a focus on smaller tactical nuclear weapons instead. They pleaded for restraint, for a pause in the relentless pursuit of greater destructive power. His stance put him at odds with powerful figures, politicians. Section 8. The Crucible of Suspicion, McCarthyism's Bitter Sting, the early 1950s. America was gripped by the Red Scare. Senator Joseph McCarthy fanned the flames of anti-communist hysteria. Fear and suspicion were rampant. No one was safe from accusation. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the celebrated physicist, became a target. His past associations were dredged up. His pre-war friendships with left-leaning individuals, his wife's former communist ties, his own complex political views. These became weapons in the hands of his enemies. Those who disliked his stance on the H-bomb. Those who saw him as a security risk. In 1953, his security clearance was suddenly suspended. He was accused of being a disloyal American. It was a shocking blow. A man who had given so much to his country. A man who had led its most secret and vital wartime project. Now, he was being publicly humiliated. He chose to fight the charges. A security hearing was convened. It was less a fair trial and more an inquisition. His entire life was picked apart. His words were twisted. His motives were questioned. Section 9. Echoes of the Atom Legacy, Redemption, and Lingering Shadows. After the humiliation of the security hearing, Oppenheimer withdrew. He returned to the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton. He continued his work in theoretical physics. He lectured, he wrote. But the fire in him seemed diminished. The public ordeal had taken its toll. He was a more solitary figure, more introspective. The man who once commanded the attention of presidents and generals now walked a quieter path. He focused on science. He focused on teaching. He tried to find peace amidst the echoes of his past. Years passed. The political climate began to change. The excesses of McCarthyism faded. There was a growing recognition of the injustice done to Oppenheimer. In 1963, President Lyndon B. Johnson presented him with the Enrico Fermi Award. It was the Atomic Energy Commission's highest honor. It was a symbolic act of rehabilitation, a public acknowledgement of his immense contributions, and a quiet apology for the wrongs he had suffered. For Oppenheimer, it was a moment of bittersweet vindication, a measure of peace, perhaps. In his final years, Oppenheimer reflected often on his life's work. He never fully escaped the shadow of the bomb,